How many of these kids just long for eye contact?
Oh my goodness, that's right. They want to be seen.
Yep.
They want to know that somebody cares.
Yep.
And that's why, again, as long as you're breathing, you can do this.
Yeah. Wow. I meant to ask this earlier, but how are the teachers in these schools receiving this program?
Sure. You know, you'll have mixed results from the angle of oftentimes their worldview. But you know, it's amazing. I mean, even non-Christians though, they'll recognize like, wow, this is actually a benefit for our kids. You know, you're having and why? Just even from a sheer just social, you know, perspective, you've got loving mentors who are investing in their lives, who care about them and just showing them care and concern. So I mean, just from a sheer social level, it's a win. But you know, on a whole, I would say very well received. You know, again, you'll have some that are like, you know, I don't like that they're teaching the Bible.
Yeah.
But you know, most of the time that is not a problem at all. I mean, it's
Awesome.
it's very few. In fact, very few schools say no. And if they do say no, we've got some great ideas of how they can serve the school. And a year later, they're going to say yes. Yeah.
Do you have any contact with Ryan Walters, the new director of education?
So I know Ryan. We're not good friends, but we've definitely been in several meetings together. And you know, he's taken it on the chin just for some of the stances he's taken. But I will say, just knowing, you know, again, in being in one-on-one conversations with him, his whole heart is he's like, I just want kids to thrive and succeed. And so, you know,
Need to hear that.
a lot of things he says is being misstrued
Yep.
and even lied about.
Yep.
But just know that his heart, I mean, it is just pure gold. I mean, he literally every day is getting up because he just wants kids in Oklahoma to succeed. His wife too, she's just the sweetest thing. But they both just deeply care about children. And so, and you know, and basically his comment is, because I know it's been a little bit of a shock and awe for people. They're like, man, you know, can you tone it down a little? His attitude though is like, look, I've only got a short amount of time, and I need to do as much as I can to kind of help swing us into an area that just puts us on a little bit closer on the path. Because, and here's the problem, we've kind of bought into the lie and drunk the Kool-Aid where so many things, you know, like, well, you know, Christians, you know, we're really not allowed here. Or I was talking to somebody else and they're like, well, you know, I mean, school, they, you know, it's a neutral place.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
No, it's not.
no, it's not actually. It's actually very pro-religion.
Yep.
It's pro-secular humanism, which is a religion that nobody recognizes. But anyway, so Ryan, that's what he's trying to do. He's just really trying to help bring the Lord back into the spotlight and not push him, just be a level playing field.
Yep.
Because right now, I was talking to, again, several teachers, and they're afraid to pray for a student that has an issue because they don't want to be fired. What is Ryan? He's saying, look, I just want there to be a level playing field, that if a kid comes up and say, would you pray for me, that they can pray for him and not worry about getting fired. Or they can actually have their Bible on their desk and not worry about getting fired. He said, anyway, there's a lot of great stuff, but just know most of the stuff you hear on the news is not accurate.
Yeah, and I'm not a political person. Well, that's a lie. I am very political. But I believe that as a community of believers, we need to support this man.
Yes, I agree.
He is in a hard spot. And I don't agree with everything he does, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is that God loves him and he lives that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, he deeply loves the Lord. He deeply seeks him in prayer.
Yep.
And that's right. No, it's true. You know, we can disagree with some of the policies, but recognizing,
Sure.
I mean, he's not out trying to destroy kids.
He is not.
He's doing everything he can to try to actually save this generation.
And he's trying to be light in a dark place.
He is. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
We've talked about this a little bit, but what is the 4 to 14 window? Let's talk about that a little deeper if you can.
Absolutely. So In the Gap started an initiative called Mission 414. Now, Mission 414, the thought of that is this: between the ages of 4 and 14 are when the majority of people will accept Christ. So historically, actually about 85% of people would accept Christ by the time they turned age 14. Now that number has slowly shifted. I think I just saw a study here, some data come out by Life Church. They were saying 63% now. accept Christ by the time they turn 14. But that's why we're saying 4 to 14, because basically it's children, they have a deep understanding even at 4 years old of spiritual truths, and so they can be receptive at that point. But anyway, that's why we're kind of highlighting that window of time and recognizing, man, that those 10 years are really critical. And then again with the study with Barna, where he's saying, hey, 90% is established by the time they turn 13. So it's kind of right in that window, but that's kind of where that specific number came from, that they're most sensitive and open at that point.
Wow.
Now, and here's an example. So again, a lot of times we focus in on say, man, we gotta invest in our youth. We gotta invest in our youth. And what we mean by that is our high school kids, junior high and high school kids. That's kind of what we say when we mean youth. Should we have youth programs? Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying we shouldn't. But here's what I'd like us to think the picture-wise. Think of a word picture. So let's say you pour cement out for your driveway or for your sidewalk, okay? And you do the whole family thing, right, where you come out and everybody puts their hands in there and stuff. What happens? The first hour, you can come do that. Put your hands in there, and it's soft, it's pliable. You wait a couple hours, and you come back. You're going to kind of have to push pretty hard to make any kind of imprint. You come back at the end of the day, it's gone. Like, there's no way you're going to put an imprint in there. It's set.
Yep.
And so the only way you can come back and reform that is you're going to have to jackhammer that up and re-pour it. So here's what I wanted us to think about. The ages between 4 and 14, that is when that cement is open. It's soft. Their hearts, for children, their hearts are soft. Now, the closer they're getting toward 13 and 14, they're becoming more firm, like at the end, the middle of the day, we're trying to push down, it becomes a little more hard. What happens, though, is we're shifting all our focus to say, hey, you know what? Teens, let's do everything with teens. But the problem is we have to basically help till up, if you will, their hard heart and relay it, which just, it takes a lot more effort, a lot more energy. And what? They're bringing a lot of baggage with them at that point.
Yep.
So, and again, I'm not saying we shouldn't have teen ministry. Absolutely. But let's not neglect the children's side. And in fact, let's not just neglect it. Let's pour a ton more resources into that ministry because they're so open, they're so hungry for the truth. Here's a great example. So my sister-in-law was back home in Florida, and she was doing a class, and the lesson for that day, the whole lesson, was helping teach these, I want to say she was teaching kindergarten, it was to teach them that God made grass. 20-minute lesson, God made grass. And I was just dumbfounded. I'm like, this is a great example of what's wrong with us, because we've dumbed down the perspective of how, intelligent children are. That's got to take an entire 20-minute lesson to convince them that God made grass. Instead, we should be reversing that, thinking, okay, actually, honestly, the adults, they are the one who needs a 20-minute lesson on God made grass. Kids need about 90 seconds. Because why? And what did Jesus say? You have to have the faith of a child. Yeah. Why is that? Because you tell them, you know what, guys, it's amazing. God, he spoke and he said, let there be grass. And just like that, there was grass. And so when you look around, God just spoke it and it exists. And they're like, that's cool. Yeah, God can do that. They don't have a problem believing that,
No.
So what we need to do, though, is really focus. How do we intentionally disciple our children to give them a deep understanding of who God is? Now, can they understand massive theological terms? No. But you know what? They can understand the concepts.
Yeah.
And so what it's up to us as adults, we need to be the ones to simplify it, not dumb it down, simplify it so they can get it, because, man, they get it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, they get it. And can you imagine if we poured as much energy and effort as we do into maybe our, teens or for sure our adult ministry? What if we did that for kids ministry? Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine now by the time they turn 13, 14, now they are becoming the leaders of the church. Because they're grounded, they're solid, they know how to defend their faith, they know how to witness to their friends. Yep. Now we're cutting loose kid missionaries. Yep. Oh my goodness, can you imagine the difference that would make in our schools, our community, and our church? Okay, so here, check this out. In Altus, Oklahoma, there was a church, and I was visiting with the pastor there, and he said something that shocked me. He said, you know what, Chad, we actually had to cancel our adult Wednesday night services. I was like, okay, well, I've heard of other churches doing that. He said, no. The reason we did that is because our children's ministry was growing so much. We needed every classroom in our church for the ministry to children on Wednesday nights. We had to cancel our adult classes. Oh, man, my mind was blown. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've never heard of this in my life. What? But what? They got it. Yeah. They realized this next generation is it. Yep. And where it came from, both the pastor and his wife had come where their lives were shambles. They didn't know the Lord growing up. but they got to know the Lord later in life. But they thought, man, if we could have known the Lord when we were young, that would have changed our lives. And now they're pouring in these kids, and it's showing. I mean, they're doing like multiple van runs a night, going picking up all these kids. But here it is. Wow, can you imagine taking up your entire church just investing in children? Anyway, but I thought, man, may God help spread that vision and passion for his church abroad, because wow, if we can invest in these kids now, they will be the next dynamic leaders in the future.
Gosh, we've almost been doing this an hour. This goes so fast.
Time does fly.
Yeah. Tell us about the 5-step plan to start a Bible club.
Yeah, so just real brief.
Yep.
It's amazing. Honestly, it takes like 6, 8, maybe even 12, but let's say 8 to 12 people to start a Bible club. It's not a ton of people. And honestly, it just depends on how many kids come. But we typically you'll see between 30 to 50 kids come. So that's where we recommend, think 8 to 12 people. But it's really not that hard. It's pulling a team together, but starting with prayer, saying we need to pray for this next generation. And so maybe it's, as a small group, we start praying for them. Maybe it's just as a family, we start praying. Bottom line, just start praying and then asking God, would you just help me connect? Whether it's people in my church, whether it's another church, like just help pull together the people that you're burdening this with. So that's the first one. So it's prayer and then pulling together a team. Then it's just approaching the school and saying, hey, we would just love to serve your school, and we'd love to offer an after-school Bible club, and then just kind of start that conversation with them at that point. We'll just say, let's say they're like, yeah, let's do this. The next step now is to train your team and just help them become equipped. And again, we offer free training and then ongoing training even as well for free. Our whole goal is we just want to equip and mobilize you to effectively reach children. And so, our team will help connect you with the resources you need and going with that. And then we recommend doing like a dry run, just kind of let's practice it, kind of get used to it, figure out who's going to do what, and then practice it, and then our launch. So it's not super complicated. And again, our team we're willing to help just walk you through each step of the way. So that way, again, you don't have to figure it out. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The key is, though, just to pray that God raises up willing hearts and watch them roll.
So how can a school, or do schools approach you for this, or is it pretty much you go out and
I did. I just had mainly it's a church or people, coming to a school offering.
Okay.
But you know what? Last week I had a teacher reach out and said, hey, I'm over at a school here, and are you guys still training churches? I'm like, yeah, we're still training churches. He said, well, if I connect you with the church that's down the street, which I think would be good, can you work with them and we can get a Bible club going? So, I mean, it goes both ways, but yeah.
And same thing with how can a local church get involved?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what I would encourage is go to mission414.net. That's mission414.net. And again, we have some overviews there. You can see what's going on, and then there's a spot to reach out to our team. And again, we'll follow up and just help figure out what the next steps are for you. But again, it's such an amazing opportunity. The doors are open. Yeah. This next generation, man, if we don't make a difference now, and I'm very an optimistic person.
Sure.
But I'm looking where we're going and how fast we've gotten to where we're going. We're debating right now, whether boys are boys or girls are girls. And we're talking about this now in pre-K. Yeah. Pre-Kers don't need to be figuring this stuff out.
No.
And yet that's why, this is accelerated so quickly. This is urgent. This is an urgent matter for the church to rise up, and we have to be able to share the truth and love these kids and help them see that, man, there's a God in heaven who loves them, who specifically has a design for each of their lives, and who wants them to walk with him in a special way. This is our moment in history to rise up.
I am confident of this, that God created us. God created this planet. God created this universe. God created time and space and put it all in it, and he's not going to abandon it. And he's called people like you, God bless you, to carry this mission, to do this work. And that's what's going to make it happen. God could do a miracle and change it all. But his plan is to use one person to impact another person, to impact more people.
That's right.
And that's what you guys are doing. I am so pleased to have had this time with you, Chad. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you guys for listening this long. And I know we've talked a lot, but thank you for this time, and may God bless you as well in the work that you're doing too.
Well, thank you. This has been fun. All right. Thank you guys for watching.